Hello and welcome to the Made Fitz Show. I am your co-host, Dr. Lauren Fitz, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Melissa McAllister. And today we have an amazing guest. I mean, I cannot tell you enough how excited I am about having Natalia Melo on our call today. How are you doing today, Natalia?
I'm so excited to be here, especially because I shot my shot to be here today. I listened to the podcast and then I messaged you and I'm like, hey, what's up? I love your show. Hi.
I
Just hit it off.
so Melissa and I were talking before you hopped on, and I just have to tell the audience kind of I think I started following you a while back because you were being interviewed, I believe, by Dr. Gabrielle Lyons.
Yeah.
And what attracted me about your personality was you were super no nonsense, and you had no problem with giving tough love. And Melissa and I have worked together in the health and wellness space for a long time, and she's always good cop and I'm always bad cop, and I don't have problems giving tough love, but girl, you got me beat big time.
I think that not that everything you need to come with a sledgehammer.
True.
I don't think that everything needs to be with a sledgehammer, but I find that in today's society, a lot of things are being left unsaid because people are afraid of judgment or because what they said might not please the majority.
Mm-hmm.
But what I say is that I can create the social media persona and then be who I really am. But I can't do that because I talk too much and I can't be two people.
Well, so let's go ahead and talk about your resume, because if anyone has a leg to stand on, you do. Can you tell my audience about your resume? Because I mean, it's legit, no joke.
Which part? Which
I,
part?
I mean, your fitness competitions, the Miss Olymp.
Okay.
I mean, I'll just let you tell them because it's
Oh,
no joke.
yeah. So I won the biggest bodybuilding competition in the world, which is the Olympia. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is kind of like I'm gonna take a little bit back. I moved here from Brazil. I dropped out of law school. In Brazil, law school is a bachelor's degree. So I dropped out of law school, sold my car. I had about $350 to my name, moved to the US when I was 20. I got in law school when I was about 17. And then $350 worth cleaning restaurants. I lived in a place that was disgusting. There were like cockroaches crawling on my toothbrush. So I had to put Ziploc bags on the toothbrush. And you know, slowly, and then I worked cleaning restaurants and found better jobs, but just trying to figure it out. And I was here by myself and I started bartending and I kind of felt a bit lost. You know, when you kind of feel a bit purposeless,
Yeah,
is that how you
absolutely,
pronounce it? And
absolutely.
I was just getting like white girl wasted every single night to be bartending and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Right,
I got to that moment in my life that it was the fork on the road. I know that if I keep on going this path, it's not going to be pretty. I need to do something to change. And that's
right.
kind of when I decided to start competing.
Okay.
And I never was attracted by the appearance. For me, was the mental challenge of it. I didn't like the physical attributes
Really?
of, yeah. So
Mm.
I started competing and I won, I think, my first 3 or 4 competitions. And I was in the first ever Bikini Olympia, which was in 2010. And I was bartending at the time as well. So about 4 days, 3 days before I won the Olympia in 2012, I was actually bartending. I worked 3 jobs as
Come
I
on.
was competing. Yeah, I was bartending because I had to pay my bills.
Right,
And
right,
competing at the time, it still isn't really profitable, but at the time it was in the very early days of bikini.
right,
So even, sponsors are always going to try to pay less to women, as is
right.
still a very big reality in the fitness industry today. So I had to make ends meet. So I worked 3 jobs and I prepped for the Olympia and I was bartending about 4 days before I won the Olympia.
So the Olympia is a little bit different than all of these, like, just for example, the PN whatever, it's kind of like a wannabe bikini competition. And I mean, people are like not having to put much work into it at all, and all of a sudden they get their card. What can you explain the difference between the different levels?
So you have like different federations, and different federations look for different things.
Okay.
And the Olympia is affiliated with the IFBB Pro League.
Okay.
which would be the most kind of traditional
Respected.
and respected. It is the federation that owns the Olympia, which is the most prestigious bodybuilding competition in the world. That's the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger has won a few times.
Right.
So it is very respected. The other federations, they don't pull as much of a crowd, and they don't give as much exposure for you to be featured, in magazines. Like
Right.
after my first competition, I was in Flex magazine, Muscular Development, Muscle and Fitness, Hers, Oxygen, like you name it. And it's funny, I would go to Publix. I lived in Florida. I would go to Publix, and I stand in the time there was still magazines. I would stand in the aisle. Like, but people can't see
Like,
my face now, but it's hilarious. I'll just stand next to the stand, and I'll like put all my magazines that I was on the cover there, and I'll just stand there. And then if somebody looked and they're like, "Oh, that looks like you," I'm like, "Yes, because it
yeah,
is."
it is me. It is me. I love it.
It was
What
so
is
funny.
So you have an incredible physique, and a lot of people listen to this podcast so they aren't able to see how beautiful you are. But you are
Thank you.
physically a beautiful female, and your physique is incredible. And you have maintained it, even though you're not in that competition world anymore. Correct?
Yeah. And it's this is a great question, because here's the thing. One thing that I find, a lot of people get into competition with the idea that is like you're going to be the poster child of health and fitness, and competing is not healthy, and absolutely not. And I get a lot of pushback. I mean, there have been podcasts done about me. It's like, oh my God, she made her brand like winning the Olympia, and now she's trash talking. I'm not trash talking. I'm just bringing clarity about what it is, because I think that there is a lot of misconception that people go into it thinking that they are going to be the Miss Health and Fitness, and it's
Right.
not.
No.
I had severe disordered eating behaviors. I had like a bucket near my bed after I won the Olympia, because I ate myself sick, because my ghrelin and leptin were so deregulated that I could not physically stop eating.
Wow.
Like my weight fluctuated. I have photos, from that time, me and my husband, now husband, at the time he was my boyfriend, the same year that I won the Olympia. We went to Italy, to the Amalfi Coast. And I don't have one. I have two photos of me in a swimming suit. In all of them, I cropped them for right below my boobs, because I didn't want my belly to be shown. Or the one picture that it is in the Blue Grotto that somebody else took, it's like me covering with my hands. That's not healthy.
No, that's not. That is not.
And, I was doing 4 hours of cardio a day.
That sounds miserable.
Oh, it was absolutely horrific. So I like to bring awareness to that, and speak about it, because even if the person is not thinking about competing, I do think that there has to be more talks about the consequences of extreme eating behaviors.
Absolutely.
Regardless if we're talking about competing or just in everyday life, you're getting ready to, I don't know, your wedding or to a vacation and stuff like that, because you keep on being stuck on that cycle, and you keep to fix the problem by going back to what caused the problem, and you're stuck in that loop.
So the way that I found Melissa was actually, she was being interviewed on a podcast where she was talking about intermittent fasting. And so, intermittent fasting, before it was the big fad, right? And I have seen over the last 10 years, a lot of people will take the intermittent fasting to the extreme, and it's just another way that an eating disorder will manifest in people. Have you seen that a lot in your own journey?
100%. And that's the thing that I also see in the competition world. Like they are just able to nurture disordered eating behaviors and give it a names. It's like, oh, you're in the off season, so you're binging. But hey, it's off season, I'm bulking. No, you're not bulking, you're binging, and you're getting overweight.
Right.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Right. Right.
And I that's what I had a problem with, is that the extremes and the anxiety that I felt, that I can see people now feeling with their diet of choice, is that when you're in shape, you're already anxious because you know that it's not going to last, that it has an end date. So you're looking good, but then you're miserable because in your mind, you already know that tomorrow you're not going to have a six pack.
Right. Right.
And it never ends. You just keep on being on that roller coaster.
So I think our listeners, because I mean, I'm sure we have some listeners that are in the competition world, but I think most of our listeners are just average females that want
Yeah.
to get in shape and look their best and feel their best and be their healthiest, but they don't have a Natalia in their ear giving them some of the tough love. And one of the
Mhm.
things that you said was how you resonate with us because we like to keep it stupid simple. So
Yeah.
you work with clients, yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does working with you look like?
It's fun. It's funny because I literally just did 2 interviews in the past couple of weeks with my existing members, and one of the questions that I asked is like, "What was different?" And they were like, "It was too simple." And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" And they were like, "I didn't think that it was going to work because it was so straightforward and so simple that I kept on looking, and I was like, there has to be a mistake. It can be surely it's not just like that." And that's one thing that I see a lot in the fitness space, fitness professionals trying to get attention, because how are you going to, you're not going to get attention on social media by just, let's have a balanced diet. It's not sexy.
No.
Let's you can eat kale, but you can also have a glass of wine. That's not really sexy. Balance is not, balance doesn't sell.
No.
So people are making these outrageous claims, trying to pretend that they have, landed a rocket in the moon. And but it's just basic principles. And what I talk about all the time is that if somebody doesn't know how to explain something to a 7-year-old, they probably don't know enough about that topic to be teaching anybody.
Mm. There's a lot of people on social media that shouldn't be teaching. Can I get
Right.
an
Like
amen?
100%. If you cannot explain the basics of, creating caloric deficit and why, your intermittent fasting works, your keto works, your all the different ones. If you cannot explain that in a way that everybody can understand, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. So I'm a big fan of keeping it very simple and, not to dominate, but can I tell a story about a member of ours
I would
recently?
love to hear. Yeah.
So she sends me a message, and is this like very geeky looking guy, the typical like shouting at the camera, like walking around in a supermarket aisle, and like, the type.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it's like, he's like, "Oh, and then if you have a carbonated drink before you eat, because it's not going to spike your insulin." And then he's using all these terms that like halfway through, I'm like, "Can I curse?"
Absolutely.
I'm like, "What the fuck is he on about?" Like, I have, and then you have to eat something that is low glycemic, and then examples of low glycemics. And then I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I'm confused. And I've been doing this for over 15 years.
Yep.
And then at the end of it, he's like, "And then if you do this, you're going to eat less." And then one of our members sent me that, and she's like, "What do you think about this?" And I'm like, "I'm going to explain to you in very simple terms. You have a space, your stomach. You put things inside of it before you eat. Then whenever you eat, you're not going to eat as much because some of the space that already existed is going to be taken. Boom, problem solved." Why are we talking about insulin is being spiked and, low glycemic? Like, nobody cares. Keep it simple. Explain to people, because
Preach.
it just blows my mind.
It, you literally just spoke to everyone listening, like, yes, she finally said it. It's so true. So true.
It blows my mind. And it's like trying to make it seem, oh, the autophagy of like intermittent fasting, right? Which is going to exist if you are in a caloric deficit in any other way. Okay. Cool story, bro.
Right. Right.
So it drives me crazy. And that's one thing that I'm very adamant about. And also I think in the context of fitness, the overreach of stepping outside their own scope.
Oh,
I find that incredibly problematic. And for a long time,
yes.
because of my experience with the coaches that I had whenever I competed, I didn't want to be a coach for a long time because I was so traumatized by I'm like, if I have to be a coach like these people,
I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it, because I wouldn't be able to put like, I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't come from family that has like a name The only thing that I have is my reputation, and I wasn't willing to, cannibalize that or jeopardize that for a few bucks. And that's why I never coached competitors.
Smart. That is very smart. I will, as a physician who has also been a health coach, that has always been my biggest beef. People that are trying to give advice that literally are just repeating something that they heard on a reel and with authority, that just because I have 1 million followers, I can speak on authority. Like, you have no degree, you have no education, you have no experience. I mean, even with the semaglutide and tirzepatide, hearing people give their opinion, like, unless you have worked with patients, prescribing it and seeing how they do, keep your opinion to yourself. Like, don't give advice if you haven't actually worked with patients and use it in the right way.
Yeah. And I think that here's the thing as well, because with the medical system, there is a catch-22, because we have doctors like you, like Dr. Lyon, like Dr. Jessica Shepard, who do prescribe semaglutide, which is great, a great tool. But then whenever you look at the bigger picture, any medical professional can prescribe that. But whenever you look, how much education around nutrition do most doctors receive? I got it. It's 19 hours out of 4 years.
Yep. And sometimes it's not even that much.
Yeah, it's anywhere between 18 to 24, but they noticed that the average was about 19. So you have people that, technically speaking, are qualified, but they are not knowledgeable. And they're prescribing that like it's, oh yeah, I have that. But they're not able to offer the guidance that you offer on the importance of, keeping up with the protein, or making sure that it is a tool, is not the whole toolbox, that you need to be doing other things, so that you're, especially for the demographic that is primarily being prescribed, which are women in perimenopause and menopause, which are already losing muscle mass because of the process of aging. So they're not offering that guidance on how to properly utilize that tool. And then you have, people who are abusing it, their hair is falling off and things like that. And then you have some idiots on social media are like, oh, it sucks. If you take that, you're a piece of shit. Can we meet somewhere in the middle?
Maybe, yeah.
Somewhere in the middle. That'll be great.
I know, Melissa, after we have talked about it so many times, what is your thought on using those tools now?
Like the
semaglutide and yeah.
Oh, shoot. I was very, very close-minded at first, extremely close-minded. And after, especially because one of my dearest friends, I get to hear the stories of the lives that she's changing. So I think, number one, they're not going anywhere. So you just, they're not going anywhere. They're going to become and more mainstream. So you've got to accept the fact that they will be a part of our lives from this point forward, just like artificial intelligence. And so, number one, you just got to let that go, that grudge, and your hope that because you hate it so much, because you think it's cheating, is going to be enough for it to go away. It's not going to go away.
Right.
And number two, I understand, working with enough clients, that food noise is real. Like Lauren, you put in your stories that gentleman. I listened to his reel talking about, even for him as a personal trainer, getting on it just to try it, and him just being so blown away at how the food noise, some people really need that. They really need that. And with what you do, again, you help these people use it to the extent that they need to, but the hope is that they don't need it for the rest of their lives. And I think that's key.
And I think that is kind of like one of the biggest pieces that I feel like it's missing. I think that there is a lot of misutilization of that resource, because even recently I made a post, because I was going to talk about semaglutide to the members in my community, to explain what it does, because they're just like, oh, I want to do it. And I'm like, but do you know what it is though? Well, it kind of helps you lose weight. And I'm like, but do you understand how? So I kind of broke it down, the whole process, and talked about muscle mass, and talked about how much protein you actually need to be able to maintain your muscle, and why, it's not about picking between having a coach or using semaglutide. They need to be utilized together.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like
Absolutely.
saying that you can have a car, but oh, I'm gonna have the car, but I'm not gonna get the wheels. You're still not gonna move.
Yeah. Well, this is why. Are you familiar with the Mind Pump guys? I mean,
Yes,
they're
yeah,
I love them. I reached out to them earlier this year because I knew that they were experimenting with that, and they were embracing the fact like these peptides are not going anywhere. So we can either have like-minded individuals like the three of us and them and do it right, or we can keep pretending like they're going to go away and poo-pooing them. And I am convinced that if we have people like the three of us and the Mind Pump guys and Gabrielle Lyons and a lot of like WorldLink medical providers, we can do it the right way, but we have to
yeah,
speak out and come together. I mean, I would
yeah,
love to have, send my patients to, someone like either of you to help support them along the way. I mean, I require my patients to lift at least 3 days a week. I require them to hit a minimum protein goal every day. They have to hit their steps, like the basics, the stupid, simple basics.
and that's the thing. We've worked with quite a few people that were on semaglutide, and we could tell who was being guided by a provider that has no understanding
Correct.
of caloric intake and the minimal amount of protein required for at least muscle maintenance.
Right.
So they were not microdosing, they were aggressively dosing, and that person couldn't even meet her minimal amount of
Of course not.
protein required. And
Yep.
and that is kind of like the problem that I see, because even when I posted on my social media that I was going to talk about it with my members, and I was like, hey, I'm going to pick 5 people. If you want to, join in, I'll let you join in for free. And somebody who is a nurse and does the semaglutide, oh, hey, if you don't have anybody to refer, like refer to me, I'll give you this amount percent commission. I'm like, I don't want commission, because I had already spoken with that person, and I could tell that she had zero understanding of
Yeah.
like macronutrients. So I'm not going to be sending my people to someone who is just
No.
like handing out like Kit Kat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the problem is it is. I mean, it's being prescribed. It's a huge moneymaker. And
Yeah,
I mean, I could be making so much more money if I just didn't care. But
yeah.
I mean, we meet with them every single month. And I let them know that I will fire them if they are not doing their non-negotiables, because I don't want their weight loss that's done the wrong way to be associated with my name, because I take pride in the fact that I've had zero complications. All of those big bad words like gastroparesis and pancreatitis, like zero of my patients. I keep them on the lowest dose that's having them lose 1 pound of weight per week. Bottom line.
I love that. And it's funny because for me, this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, because my mom is your typical like yo-yo dieter, Jenny Craig. My mom has had more lipos. I love that she can speak English, so it's good that I can talk
Right.
stuff about her. But she knows that I talk stuff about her, because I look at her, I'm like, and another one. So because she's done like so many liposuctions, and every single diet that you can possibly think of, she's done it. I was doing the
Yeah.
cabbage soup diet with her when I was 12.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
And she would recover from liposuctions eating a gallon of ice cream. And I'm like, girl, I don't know. At the time I was young, and I'm like, I don't know much about that. But I'm gonna go out on the limb and say that math ain't mathing. Like
That math is definitely not mathing.
that math is not mathing. So my mom, because I find that in Brazil, a lot of the weight loss trends, they get there almost sooner than here.
Yeah. Oh, because the beauty, I mean, like we were talking before, Melissa and I have traveled a lot. It sounds like you've traveled even more than we have, but some of the most beautiful people that I've ever seen. And it didn't matter if they were rich or poor or middle class, like everyone is gorgeous in your country.
Yeah,
So,
like the beauty industry is very big. It's like the second biggest plastic surgeon center in the world.
wow.
So a lot of the things get there. So my mom came to my house with Ozempic at the time, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm talking about like 4 years ago. And
Oh,
then she's like, oh, it's the medication that is going to make me lose all the weight. And I'm like, okay, heard that before, but I digress.
right.
So she would have an injection, and then she would go to like Walmart or whatever store and come home with a dozen glazed donuts,
Come on.
Oh,
cinnamon buns, like the whole bakery. And that was what she would eat all day because that's all she could actually eat physically.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not sure that that's how it should be used. Just throwing that out there.
It's just my opinion, but
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. That's kind of what made me so passionate because I have watched my mom struggle with her own body image.
yeah.
And, it was always like she had the fat closet, she had the skinny closet, and it was always that constant battle. And I see how it impacted me with my own body image and my own relationship with food. So this is something that I'm very cognizant with my children. And as I'm interviewing people to work with us, because I like to say that people that I work with are a walking billboard of my work. And if I feel like you're not going to do the thing, I don't want it.
No, definitely not.
I cannot want the change more than you want it for yourself. So that's kind of like the motto that I have.
Melissa and I can relate with that feeling all too much. We have definitely, it's wanting someone to be, especially our loved ones, man, when the people that are closest to us and are struggling, we can't want it more than they do.
Yeah, yeah. And whenever I'm speaking with women, there is like, it's so funny. One of the questions that I ask is, tell me about your upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I ask everybody, tell me about your upbringing. And 10 out of 10 times, you can trace back their relationship with food to something in when they were a child. Be that because they had, their mom was always stepping on the scale, or their mom was always on a diet. In the Latino community, something that is almost like prolific is you're either too fat or you're too skinny. You're never good enough. If you arrive home and you're too slim, you're like, oh, you need to eat more. I remember my mom literally looking at me. She's like, oh my God, your face looks so fat. And it's just a conversation that exists.
Are you kidding?
Oh, absolutely not. I swear to God.
Wow.
And
how does that affect your psyche as a young female?
Right. So this is something that is very common in, Eastern European cultures. And we've worked with people from all over the world. I've done seminars, like we were talking before, in like 30 different countries. So I think that the Olympia has allowed me to have a big international reach.
Right.
And so we've worked with people from many different backgrounds. So Asians, Eastern Europeans, and Latinos are hands down the most vocal about giving opinion on people's body image. And obviously I know that I'm generalizing here, but I'm obviously taking from my experience and the things that I've heard. So even whenever you hear that, it's going to change how you navigate with that person, because their appearance has always been a big part of their identity.
Right.
And whether they're liked or whether they're not liked. So if we're not taking those things into account as well, you're not going to be doing the person a disservice.
So, but I almost feel like, I mean, because all of those countries or all of those regions of the world, none of them have the obesity issues that we have in the United States. I almost feel like there's got to be a happy medium of the tough love versus the actual bullying. Because I mean,
but I don't even think it's bullying. I think that it goes into a little bit of the psyche side, and that's kind of why I felt kind of going back to trying to be all things as a fitness professional. One thing that I started to realize is that a lot of the members, the people that were becoming attracted to me, they came with a big baggage of emotional eating and that disordered eating patterns, disordered eating behaviors. And it was way outside my scope. So that's why I brought in my team, a counselor, because there were a lot of things that, I mean, I would love to solve it with a sledgehammer, but I cannot sledgehammer somebody who has been struggling since they were 6 because your mom called them fat.
True.
So it's about finding that happy medium. It's like you have a choice. And you can choose to stay the same, or you can choose to see things from a different perspective. But I'm a big believer on the choice. And me as the professional that is helping that person, I need to see that, there is a background and there is a story that they've been telling themselves for the majority of their lives, that their worth is directly attached to their body image. Or
so do you think that that's how you are so successful with your clients, is because you're able to get to their psychology first?
Yeah, yeah, and help them see, the need for control. A lot of times for a lot of these women, their bodies has been the things that, or their eating behaviors has been the things that they have been able to control in an environment where people are always judging how you look, or in an environment where, your mother is forcing you to be on a diet because she felt fat that day. And the thing that they can't control is their bodies or what they eat. And another thing is a strong correlation between abuse, physical abuse, sexual
Yeah.
abuse, emotional abuse, with disordered eating behaviors. There is a strong correlation with that. So if we're not getting to the bottom of it and we're trying to sledgehammer our way into, oh, just suck it up and deal with it, on that aspect, it's not going to work.
No.
Because you're not, and that's the thing that I find with like cookie cutter plans and things like that, because it is addressing the surface level. It is addressing the thing that is the easiest thing. Oh, here's a workout and here's like a meal plan, off you go.
Right.
But it's not changing the pattern at the very root cause. It's not helping people understand and giving them autonomy. Like the whole idea of like, oh, you're not allowed to do this. I am not a babysitter for a bunch of grown-ups. This is not the Natalia Mello daycare, period.
I know Melissa has something to say about that.
Yeah,
I do. And Natalia, I really, if talking about what we're talking about, I wanted to ask you, with the upbringing that you had with the mom who obviously loved you very much, but had strong opinions about appearance, and then being, in the fitness competitor world, what did you do to get yourself out of that mindset of appearance was everything? Everything I do is going to reflect how I look, and to be able to help other people now through this. What did you do?
Appearance is still a big part of what I do and who I am. But I think that it's about finding that balance where it doesn't become the whole of you. And I think that was the switch, because, grew up in an environment where your appearance is a big thing. And then I get into a sport, which is literally, it's funny because my husband said something about like being vain. And I'm like, bro, I won the biggest vanity contest on the planet. Read the room. Get with the program, okay?
Bro.
Like, hello. So,
oh my gosh.
There is that level of vanity, which I don't think there is anything wrong with vanity. I find, like, I speak with a bunch of women, well, I don't want to be vain. I'm like, be vain all you want. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's about understanding that you bring more to the table than just
your looks.
Just the looks. And there were a lot of experiences for me. And that's the thing that I found, that I was very fortunate as I was in the fitness space, that because I had to become very mature very quickly from moving to a completely different country at age 20 and with nothing, and build from nothing. I had to become very aware of my environment and being able to see the things and kind of see the writing on the wall. So as I got into the fitness space, you get like everybody's blowing smoke up your ass and you're like, woo, I'm hot shit. And then you start seeing other people who are hotter shit than you, and then people forget about you. Or, the people in the fitness industry that were dating this person, and then they would find somebody hotter, and then they would be hot with somebody else. And I start to see that pattern. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure I'm about that life.
Definitely not.
And you see it. So and thank God I was already with my husband whenever I got into the fitness space and things like that. So everybody, I'm like, ew. Like, you're asking me about like if you're holding too much water and taking selfies. I can't, bro.
No.
Like, absolutely not. I like a man who is like rough around the edges. My husband doesn't know the difference between manicure and pedicure, but I
love it.
So
bring back masculine men, please.
Yeah, like he was a rugby player. I don't think you can be like a professional rugby player. You cannot get any more manly than that, I don't think.
No.
So I think that he was learning to detach my whole identity from the outside, Melissa, to ask your question. And I think that the really turning point for me begun when I met my husband, because my husband was a very high level professional athlete. He represented Ireland. He played for what would be called the All-Star team in the rugby space. And I watched my husband have a quote unquote normal life. And his role as a professional rugby player wasn't the whole of his identity. So that was very eye-opening for me, that like the conversation was never led with, I'm hot shit. So that kind of started to open my eyes. And then whenever I got pregnant with my kid, with my first child, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't want my kids to witness and be a part of the same environment in which I grew up in. I wanted to do different. I wanted to be better. So that was kind of like the turning point for me. And it wasn't overnight. It wasn't something that just poof happened and then I was cured. And I think that that's one thing that we need to talk more about, is that you're not going to undo years, sometimes decades of disordered eating behaviors, and, you know, always giving yourself a deadline whenever you're getting to a fitness goals, and always looking for that, oh, I have the pool party, I have the trip, I have the wedding, I have the event. It just is something that you are. And that's it. Like, you are somebody that wakes up and work out. You are somebody who eats according to your goals, whatever that looks like.
So I'm curious, have you ever struggled with your weight?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was competing.
Because most people will look at you and be like, she has no idea. She's never been called fat. She's never been in a body that feels or looks fat. She has no idea.
I'm going to tell you, so maybe not to the extreme of being, I don't know, like severely overweight.
Right.
But in the context of emotion, I had the fat closet and I had the skinny closet. In my competition days, I cannot begin to tell you how many times I refused to go to the beach with my friends because I didn't think I was worthy of putting a swimming suit on.
Wow.
And be seen by people. Pictures. I don't have any pictures from like my competition days other than competition. Wow. I hardly have any because I was embarrassed of taking photos.
That's crazy.
Turning down, you know, events, or like being uncomfortable in places. And I remember very vividly, I was doing an appearance for a supplement company that I worked for. And I had just come out in a very big, you know, publication like Muscle and Fitness. The photos were everywhere on social media. And the supplement company put the magazine there with open on the part that I was in. And somebody came to me and they're like, that's not you.
Oh.
I'm like, pretty sure it was. And they're like, nope, it doesn't look like you. It looks about like 15, 20 pounds lighter there.
Did you throat punch them?
It got me so up, like I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And I think that that's where what a lot of people don't understand. Yes, maybe I wasn't like 250 pounds, 300 pounds.
Right.
But I've had emotional experiences that I like. There is nothing sadder than turning down your friends because you like your clothes don't fit.
Right.
And these were things that I experienced. And I like, whenever somebody tells me I haven't taken photos with my kids forever, I get it because I have been there.
Right.
You know, Natalia, my daughter is a model, and excuse me, my light just died on me. And she, when you said that, I felt that to the core because she has represented a few swimsuit companies in there. And if she looks like she's even got 7 pounds on her from the last time they took pictures of her, they'll call her out on that. And it makes her so self-conscious and so uncomfortable. It's a very hard career to have.
Yeah. And then there is the pressure as well, like a magazine, and it's always that, like that mind fuck, because you feel like, and here's the thing, in the fitness space, there is always the presumption that women who are competing are stupid. They're bimbos. There is always the presumption, like they never think that you are capable of having, you know, business accolades or accomplishing things. Like, God forbid you look good, you win a competition and you accomplish stuff outside of that. which I utilized it to my advantage. I
I
played
was
dumb
about to
and
say,
I'm like,
you can totally use that to your advantage.
yeah, like I use that to my advantage, but I cannot begin to tell you how many times it was like always about how I looked. And I start to grow tired of it because I always felt like I had a lot, like I would like to think that I'm a smart person and I have a good conversation and I have a good sense of humor. And I always wanted to be around someone who saw more than my accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like to answer the question, kind of piggybacking on that, it's I started to feel a bit empty as I was going into shoots and things like that, that it was always about the outside and not what is going on in the inside and what I'm accomplishing outside of having a six pack.
Right.
So
So Melissa and I are very open with our age. I don't know if you are open with your age, if
I'm
you
40.
care. Okay, beautiful. So
Yeah.
so we're all 40 and above, and
Mhm.
the changes of hormones that hit women at midlife are a real struggle. And in your clientele, how do you help them navigate through this stage of life?
This is a very good, because we work with a lot of women in perimenopause, menopause. In fact, that's why in my event I had Dr. Jessica Shepard, who
Mm-hmm.
just wrote a book about menopause. Like, she's a legend, love her. And because a majority of my demographic is teetering on perimenopause and menopause. So here's the thing. I find that for a lot of women, like many other things, PCOS or any kind of autoimmune disease, for a lot of women, it can become their whole identity.
Yeah.
And it's like the go-to scapegoat
100%.
to say, oh, I can lose weight because I have, well, cute story, like, who story, bro? I do too. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying, oh my God, you're so amazing, Natalia, give me an autograph. But it's just like, life is hard, toughen up. You can either live with it and do what you can with what you have, or you can sit there and, blame everything that is outside your control as to why you cannot accomplish X, Y, and Z. So now back to the hormonal situation. Does it impact 100%? But if I'm speaking with someone, chance like 9 out of 10 times, it's like, oh, it's my hormones. And I'm like, cool, got it. Have you got them checked? No. All right. So what is your workout like? Well, you see, just been so tired. And then like, life is busy. And then like my daughter graduated. And I'm like, okay, stop it. Like, how many times are you training?
Mhm.
Well, it's been about like 3 months that I've gone to the gym like once a week. And I'm like, okay. And what about the nutrition? Well, nutrition, I eat healthy.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, do you eat avocado all day? It's healthy, but it's still incredibly caloric. So you're not answering my question. So what I find is that for a lot of women, it almost becomes the go-to
Mm-hmm.
without addressing the basics. Like, keep it simple, stupid. Like, so how is your training? How is your nutrition? How is your consistent with both? If you're not being consistent, why is that? Are you trying to do more? And that's the thing. A lot of women, especially as they get to the menopause, perimenopause stage, they're also in a different stage of their career. So
Yep.
probably more demanding. They have kids that need them more. There is like, you're the snack bitch for all these sporting activities, and you become a chauffeur and you're driving from one
Yep.
game to the next and practices all week. So a lot of these women are used to getting shape with being like, oh, I ate a little bit extra, so I'm going to do more cardio tomorrow.
Mm.
Oh, I ate a little bit more of this, so, I can just train for 2 hours and I can sleep whenever I want to because I don't have to do everything for everybody. And they keep on trying to repeat what worked when they had all this free time now, and then they keep on failing, and then they feel like they suck, and then they cannot stay consistent, and then it becomes the hormones' fault.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so let's peel the layers. Clearly, what worked 15 years ago doesn't align with the life that you have right now. So we have to meet somewhere in the middle. So what is the compromise? Maybe you cannot commit to going to the gym 5 days a week. Can we do 3 times a week for like 25, 30 minutes? That's a good start.
Great start.
Like, okay, so you now have a more social life. Maybe your career requires you to go out for dinner with clients and things like that. Or maybe you travel more. Cool. What is a realistic nutritional plan that you can have that it doesn't require you to eat tilapia and asparagus out of a Ziploc bag? Because that is not realistic. It's not your life right now. And
Right.
just because you work then, I joke, I say, if I try to do now what I did when I won the Olympia, I would be in a padded room or in a mental institution, one or the other.
100%. 100%.
So understanding what needs to change in your strategy in order for you to stay consistent. Once we have the consistency and we're able to see what your true baseline is with the hormonal fluctuation, but now we have the consistency, then we can start to address how the hormones are truly impacting your performance, your nutrition, your weight gain or weight loss, and take it from there. Meaning, if we have somebody that is significantly struggling with, hot flashes, is it really going to make sense for me to put them to do a crazy HIIT workout at 4:30 in the morning?
Nope.
Right. So then we are able to change some of the variables. But if I try to change the variables when there is zero consistency, it's going to be like brushing my teeth and eat Oreos at the same time. I'm not going to know what's what.
Yep.
So this is kind of the approach that we use.
How many women come to you and are already in decent shape, but they're like, I want to look like you. Help me look like you.
We have quite a few, like it's half and half. But I think that the biggest thing is not to look like me, is to feel like me. And there is a difference.
Definitely.
Because a lot of these women, they look like that, but there's always that thought in the back of their head that they have to be doing extremes, that they have to be starving, that they have to be training 3 hours a day.
Well, because you used to have that mindset, but you escaped that.
Right. So a lot of them come to me not just because they want the look, but because they want the feeling. They want the freedom that I have been able to accomplish, which is for me much more valuable than any six-pack.
Amen.
Any six-pack, like the piece that you have. And that's the thing that I talk about. Oh, it's healthy. And I'm like, me not being able to go on a date night with my husband and have a glass of wine because my sex pack, for me, that's not healthy. Like to have that extreme mentality. I am going to go on a date night with my husband because the quality of my marriage is important to me.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
So what does your routine look like?
I joke saying that if somebody wants to kidnap me, I'm the easiest target.
Because you're so disciplined, do the same thing every day.
I just don't like change. I am ADHD, so any kind of change kind of like freaks me out. It makes me like twitch a little bit. And I will pay money to not leave my house. Like I love my house. I love being home. I'm such a homebody. So and I like to do stuff with my family. I love being with my family. I'm not like, I worked in bartending for a long time. If it doesn't have a chair and if I cannot hear you, I'm not coming.
So true. That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, like if too loud, I can't hear you, and then you're like shouting in somebody's ear. Not about it. Not about it.
Nope.
So my routine: wake up, fairly early. I like to get my workout done first thing in the morning. Get my kids ready. My husband, a lot of times, he coaches and teaches. So some days I barely see him. Some days he leaves the house at 5:45 and doesn't come home until 10 p.m.
Jeez.
So I'm like working, and we have, I have my business, and then we have a real estate business, and then I have a supplement company. So there is a lot of irons on the fire at all times, and 2 small kids.
Oh, geez. How old are your kids?
7 and 8.
No excuses.
Yeah. So, and they're 14 months apart.
Wow.
Yeah. I got pregnant with my daughter when my son was about 4.5 months.
Goodness. Was that on purpose?
No, it was not.
No.
No. I still have a bit of PTSD from that.
Yeah, I bet.
And then we moved from Ireland to the US when they were 9 months and just under 2, with knowing nobody here.
Wow. Why did y'all move to the US?
Because we lived in Ireland, and it was my husband had retired from professional rugby, and it was great. We lived in Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, but it's very kind of like you're in an island. It's very remote. It's a few years backwards. So just because of the geographical limitations of it,
right.
Can't get even like Amazon Prime there is like 5 days, 3 days, something ridiculous. I'm like, I can't live like this. No. I'm not about it. And but yeah, like just the weather, there were a lot of professional limitations as well, because I moved to Ireland right after I won the Olympia to be with my husband.
Right.
Everybody said that I was batshit crazy, but I was like, I mean, if it doesn't work, I'll come back.
And here you are. How many years have y'all been married?
We've been married for, it's going to be 10 years, and we've been together for almost 14.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I moved there, and we always knew that it was going to be something that was temporary. And with Roger retiring, the weather was very difficult because it rained all the time. And so we decided that we wanted to come back to the US once he retired, and we started to pick different states. And we liked the idea of Texas because it's big into sports. And then, you have sunshine most of the time, except when, you have the random phrase that the weather is like, oh, y'all are ready for summer, aren't you? Hold my beer.
Yep.
And then
because Melissa's half her time in Texas and half her time in Mexico. So I am originally from Texas, and I miss the winter there because we have real winter here in the Chicagoland area, and I'm dreading it. It's the worst.
Oh yeah, you do have we were kind of thinking, and I had lived in Florida before. I lived in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
And, I bartended and things like that. I'm like, I don't know if that's the kind of environment that I would like to bring my kids up.
Right.
So we kind of narrowed to Texas, and then we ended up in the DFW area, which has been amazing. I can't see ourselves like going anywhere anytime soon. But it was just like that next step, that next season of life that needed to come.
Yep. Absolutely. I always figured that I would come back to Texas at some point. I don't know. It's been a while since I've lived there, but I do miss all the people that I love in Texas for sure.
Yeah, I find people here very friendly too.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And I get made fun of all the time because I'm overly friendly. So it's the Texan in me.
I love it. I think it's so, like, it made the transition so easily. Like whenever we bought our house and we had a pool, our next door neighbor was like, do you need help with your pool?
Yep.
And then he came here, helped us. Like, next thing you know, we have like kids in our house, jumping the fence. Like it's that true feeling. Like we have block parties, like legit block parties.
Of course.
Like we block the street and we have a cookout in the middle of the street with the kids barefoot riding bikes. I don't see many places in the world really that has this. So it's been very, very nice to be able to bring our kids in an environment like this.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your business. I mean, you've got multiple businesses. We don't need to talk about the real estate, but the one that you're most passionate about is I'm assuming your fitness business.
Oh yeah. That's
your purpose.
It is my purpose. It is my purpose. And that, it's funny because whenever I was competing, people are always like, oh, you're going to coach competitors. And it just didn't feel right. It just didn't, like, there was something, I'm like, I know the line of the healthy and the unhealthy that I had to continuously cross, and I wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night, kind of like I said before, by having people do what I did.
Yeah. Yep.
So I kind of felt a bit in a limbo for a while, kind of like, what am I going to do when I grow up? Because I wanted to help people, but in my mind, the only way was that way. And I'm like, I'm not going there. And, after having a lot of good, like, mentors and phenomenal friends in the fitness industry, and seeing that there was an ethical way of doing it, that's kind of how I started coaching. And, you know, we have a registered dietitian on my team, because that's another thing. I don't want to do things that I feel like are outside my scope, especially when I'm working with women that have autoimmune diseases, that have, you know, diabetes, that have severe allergies. Uh, Does it cost me more? Yes. But for me, it's not a cost, because people are trusting their whole health on me. And I don't want to jeopardize that.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of how we operate, and it's by application only.
Okay.
I used to have something that was like that one to many format,
Mm-hmm.
but it just felt very misaligned, because I think that there is something to be said about learning about the person that you're working with, and you know, hearing their story and being truly involved and learning about their why. Because learning about their why gives me, like, we have a member that came to us at 297 pounds.
Whoa.
And I cried my whole call with her. I just cried, because it was so eye-opening to hear, you know, because I've never been there. In listening to her tell me, she's like, Natalia, I want to travel with my husband, but I'm embarrassed of getting in a plane. My son is learning how to fly an airplane, but I'm so heavy that if I'm in the airplane, I like, it's more of the weight limit. I'm not able to go with him. Like, those stories, like, I cannot go up the stairs. She sleep in the same bedroom as my husband, because I cannot physically go up the stairs.
Jeez.
So hearing these stories, like, really gave me a sense of purpose, and be able to, like, she was at the events that we just had, be able to hug her and get, like, hear her husband come to me and be like, you changed my, like, you saved my wife's lives. I don't think that anything, like, you cannot put a price tag on that.
Nope. Cannot.
Or like another member of ours that, you know, every single time that she traveled, she would gain 10 pounds after. And she looked amazing, but she was so stuck on that extreme cycle. And for the first time she was able to go to that vacation, she gained 1 pound, and she had tons of photos with her family. So that makes me tick.
Yeah. Yep.
That makes me tick. And that's why sometimes people are like, oh my God, you come across so angry on your social media. I don't think it's anger, it's passion.
It's passion.
Because I
It's
truly
100%.
know how much people's lives can be changed by having the right guidance. But at the same time, I know that I'm asking a lot from people, because there is so much fuckery afoot out
Definitely.
there.
Definitely.
That expecting people to trust me right out of the gate, or knowing, like, that I'm not like everybody else. Like, there has to be that empathy a little bit, being like, I get it, because I've wasted money. I've had bad coaches, business coaches, fitness coaches, all of that. I get it.
Right. Right. So if someone wants to work with you, what does that process look like? You said that there's an application. So do they go to your website? Like, walk us through that.
Yeah. So go to my website, and then there is a section there that is, my program is called the Powerhouse Academy, and then they can schedule a call. Yeah. And then the event that we had was the Powerhouse Summit.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we schedule a quick 15-minute call, and it's just like to test the waters, see even if I can help people. Like, and so I'd rather not take much of your time. If 15 minutes, I'm like, girl, I ain't it.
I'm not the answer.
And here's the thing. I think that it takes a lot of maturity as well to know that you're not everybody's cup of tea.
100%.
I am not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm like, I'm too much for some people, and I will live. I'll be okay with that.
Correct.
But I think that my business had to be where it's at just right now, because I don't think I would be able to handle emotionally the quote unquote rejection of somebody being like, oh, but like, I don't like how you do things. And I'm like, I'll be trying to accommodate everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that breaks the trust of the way that you coach, because you're trying to be everything for everybody, and then you forget to be yourself.
Right. So if they pass the application process, what does working with you look like? I'm assuming that you can work with people virtually. Yes.
Yeah. We work with people. At some point, I think at the same time, we were working with people in like 21 different countries at the same time. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. From like literally coast to coast. We've had people in China, Japan, Russia, New Zealand, Australia, Sweden, Norway, like honestly, literally everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that's the cool thing, I think, because I like to travel so much and I have been to so many places. I think that it gives me a little bit of an edge as well in the context of like I know what is available
Right.
in the for food. I know what the gyms look like. I
Right.
know, like I was in Japan and in a gym in Tokyo. And they have some crazy, I mean, it's crazy to me because I'm from here, but I respect that is how, like, did you know that there you cannot show tattoos?
I used to live there.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
like they literally made me sign kind of like an agreement that you cannot have tattoos showing. And I went to like gyms in Germany, and I noticed how people don't really kind of like jump in. You know what I'm saying? So you
Yeah.
start to
Yeah.
pick up stuff from different parts of the world, which I think that really helps with helping people who are from different parts of the world.
For sure. For sure. Tell
Yeah.
the audience how many countries you've been to.
50.
It's pretty impressive. I
50. And
mean,
I'm gonna be 52 by the end of this year. Because I'm going to Tahiti next month, and then we're going to the Dominican Republic in December.
that is impressive. Melissa, I think does she have you on that? I mean, you've traveled, you're one of the most well-traveled person I know, but I think she might beat you.
I think I need to count, but she's for sure got me.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
impressive.
I love traveling. And I think like we took my son to Paris when he was 3 months old, hands down one of the best trips we've done.
I
People are
love it.
always scared of traveling with kids. Like our kids, they just get on a plane. My son already has a system. He lays himself on the floor, brings the blanket.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
Melissa and I we take one big trip together every like 3 years. So we've been to Maldives together, we've been to Dubai together, we went to Bali together. We've had some cool trips
Okay.
together.
So like I'm gonna ask you now, is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
What's your favorite place that you've been to, Lauren?
Oh, I mean, I don't have a favorite. I top three, definitely Brazil, Bali, and Maldives.
Okay. And you, Melissa?
Uh, Bali for sure. Love it's been a long time, but I really loved Australia. My husband and I would like to go back just to see if we liked it as much as we did, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And probably Mexico since I bought a house there.
Wait, she bought two
What?
houses. Let's be real, two houses.
You
Yeah.
you bought two houses in Mexico.
Cabo
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and
That's
Tulum.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm her only friend that hasn't gone to visit yet. I know.
Ooh.
I know. It's gonna happen next year. I've just been traveling a lot for business this year. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that I was very fortunate because a lot of the places that I got to visit was doing seminars. Like I did
Yep.
seminars in about 30 countries. So out of the 50, 30 were I was there for work, but then I extended my trip and I did some touristy things. So that was like, and that's the thing, like people, oh, you're shading and competing. No, I'm very grateful for the opportunities. I think that for me was more the lack of clarity that about what it actually is. That's my only beef with it. Like if there was a lot of like upfront, hey, listen, this is what it takes. If you're getting into this because you want to be the poster child of health and fitness, this might not be it. It's going to build character. It's going to teach you about resilience. It's going to teach you about discipline. But if you're getting into this for health purposes, this might not be your avenue for it. Maybe I would have made the choice to do it anyway, but at least I would get into it knowing what he was. And I think that is where I think my message gets a bit mixed up with competitors that get salty about me speaking out about. I'm not speaking out about competing. I'm speaking out about the lack of clarity on what it entails.
Absolutely. I've had a few people approach me and ask me, have you thought about doing a competition? And I specifically have not at this point because I know how much it disrupts your hormones and it's not worth it for me because I mean, and I do know how much disordered eating happens when people get into that world. And I've got a very healthy relationship with my body and with food. And for me, no, I'm good.
Yeah, and people keep on trying to fix the problem with the problem. Like you have somebody that stops competing and then they gain weight because of the disordered eating behaviors that were created from competing.
Yep.
And then they're like, well, I want to get in shape again, so I'm going to go back to competing. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are
Yep.
you doing? Like,
Yep.
that's the definition of being batshit crazy. Like,
Absolutely.
so
do you do anything different now at 40 to keep your physique the way you look right now versus even 10 years ago?
100%.
You do differently.
So I have implemented more kind of like yoga because my mind is a zillion miles an hour, 24/7.
You already said ADHD.
Yeah. And it's so funny because my husband, Roger, he is horizontal laid back, like
Thank
horizontal.
goodness. That's what you need.
Yeah, yes. But sometimes I want to like shake him because I'm like, let's go. But why am I the only one panicking? He's like, everything's going to be okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's actually very funny. He deserves a medal, but I
Yeah.
digress. Deserves a trophy. So yeah, I incorporated something to kind of like keep my mind in check. I have become more okay with rest, because before for me it was like go 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 go, and like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm perfectly okay with taking days off now, and
Yep.
if I need to go to the gym and just do half of what I was gonna do,
Yep.
I check the box. So becoming more okay with understanding my body, and less impact, like crazy impact stuff.
You're not doing 4 hours of cardio anymore?
No, I'm not. Absolutely not. Hard
Good for you.
pass. No,
Good. Yeah.
no.
Hard pass.
Yeah, and not so much like crazy impact all the time.
Yeah.
Like my joints cannot take.
Mm-mm.
And I don't have interest, because for me now is more about the longevity
Yep.
than to, look X, Y, and Z. And the looking X, Y, and Z is coming, even though I'm not doing the crazy stuff that I used to do before. And with my nutrition is being about understanding that healthy is having quality of life.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is a process. And I think that that's the part that people fail to understand. I always say the balance is earned. They want to go from like being all like the extremes on the planet. Oh, I want to intuitively eat. And I'm like, your intuition is a bit broken right now. So we have to establish a baseline of what kind of quote unquote semi-normal is until we are
Yes.
talking about intuition, because you ain't got none.
None.
Like, oh, I want to have balance. And I'm like, well, your idea of balance might not be the one that is going to get you where you want to be. So we need
Right.
to calm down.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that's been kind of mostly, and being acutely aware about how my body responds to certain things too. Like, oh, I did this, that didn't feel good.
Right.
I'm a bit extra tired. What did I do differently this time? And I'm really starting to notice like the tiredness, like the fatigue is
Yep.
really I ain't recovering how I used to.
No, I'm about to turn 45. Melissa just turned 50. So we're a
What?
few years. Yeah, she's 50. Yeah, I know.
Girl.
Uh-huh. Goals.
No, wow.
Yeah. So knowing what I know now, I prescribe bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And I wish that I would have started getting my hormones right at 40, because that was totally when I started to hit the initial perimenopausal symptoms. And knowing what I know now, I wish I would have started replacing those deficiencies in hormones back when I was 40, 41. But definitely the way I work out is differently. The way I tell my perimenopausal patients to work out is differently. The sleep is not near as easy if you're not getting hormones replaced, because progesterone is one of the first hormones to go at that midlife stage. And if you're not getting good sleep, then you're not able to do all of the other things. Yeah, absolutely. So it's the 40s is something that no one really prepares you for as a female, especially if you've been in the fitness industry for a long time.
Yeah, and I find also, in a broader spectrum of things, I think that there is a lot of scrutiny on women and like the expectations. I very openly talk about cosmetic procedures like Botox, fillers. I don't care. I think it is a duty of anybody who is on the social media space, and that has people that kind of look up to you to be honest and transparent about the things
Thank
that
you.
you're doing.
Thank you. I 100% agree.
But here's the catch 22 of it, though. Like, for me, I don't give a shit. But if you're open about it, you're going to have the tree huggers. Oh my God, you need to love how you are. I'm like, well, I love myself not looking like a prune. So you get judged by getting it done. But then you look at that person and you're following kind of like Kim Kardashian. And I'm like, girl, are you like, what? Do you see what I'm saying? So there is such a double standard. But then if you don't get it done, it's like, she's let herself go. Look at her aging terribly. So I find that as women in the fitness space, there is never winning. Like, you're never winning.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to be protective of, I mean, I always say my social media is like my home. And if I invite you into my home and you take a shit in the front porch, or, you know, in my, you know, inside of my house, I'm going to kindly escort you out and never invite you back in. And so we have to be protective of people shitting in our house, and, you know, get out those negative people.
I roast
them.
You? Oh yeah. I
just block them. I just don't have the energy to roast them.
Yeah, you know, I sometimes I want to be the bigger person, but I'm like 5'5". So if God wanted me to be the bigger person, I'll be like more in the 6 foot area.
And I mean, you're a Latina. Come on, let's be real.
Yeah, but I do need, for my peace of mind, I think I should block.
It's not worth the energy, honestly. Yeah. I mean, I used to be ask Melissa. She's seen me go through the stages. I used to be the one that roasted, and now I'm like, it's not worth the energy. Like, block and release. So yeah, you don't get to experience all of my free info that I constantly give online, you know?
Yeah. And I like, that's the problem that I see, I think, for women in the fitness space, because you see, you know, men aging, and it's like, they're aging like fine wine. But for women, it's like, they're aging like vinegar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's.
Yeah, no, I've always been very open about all of the things that I do. I mean, like I said, I'm about to be 45 in January, and I've been getting Botox since I was probably 37. You know, I've got my nurse practitioner that does all my injections. So she'll, you know, plump me up with some Sculptra or some Radiesse. And, you know, because the collagen decrease is real at this stage of life. Yeah. And, you know, if you don't, and I could care less if people say it's not natural. Brushing your teeth is not natural, yet you do it every day.
Yep. Like, oh, you don't need it. I'm like, well, you don't need a car either yet.
Exactly.
Like, you get in it every single day and you go to work. Exactly. Why don't you walk?
Exactly. So go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to ask, best piece of advice for the listener that's listening to this.
Don't try to overcomplicate the process. Don't try to, like, because I think that so many people overthink, and it happens a lot in you know, the fitness space, and people are just consuming all this information with everybody. If you are to follow everything that everybody on social media said, you have one person that says breakfast is terrible, and then you have the other person saying that, oh my God, you have to eat breakfast, otherwise you suck, and then you need to stop eating at 5. Oh, but you need to eat right before bed because it's going to carb load. And then people do, like, what do you like? Oh, fruits. If you eat fruits, you suck because, oh my God, it's going to spike your insulin. And then you have somebody else telling you to eat vegetables and fruits. Like, what do you do? And I think that this vast amount of just word vomit is giving people a false sense of expertise on thinking that they know what to do. And there is a difference between knowing what to do and how to do it. And I think that that's where it's kind of like, I know that eggs, flour, sugar, and, you know, all the things are gonna bake me a cake. But do I know how to bake the cake? No, I don't. I just have the ingredients. And I think that that's where a lot of people are getting stuck. And there is a lot of shame with being like, hey, I kind of don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So I think that keeping it, don't overcomplicate. Don't try to think about, oh, what about carb cycling? And like, if you're carb cycling at 3,000 calories when your calorie deficit should be at 1,800, it doesn't matter. You're still going to gain weight because it is 3,000 calories of carb cycle. Like, you're still carb cycling your way into getting fatter. Like, like,
I love it. Yep.
But it's true though.
No, it
And I
is.
think that
It
people are
is.
always, do I need you to be carb cycling? I'm like, what is going to be the thing that is going to keep it as simple as possible for you to
Yep.
stay consistent with it?
Yep.
And then we take it from there.
Amen. Preach. Stop overcomplicating it. For
Talia,
sure.
can I rapid fire question you?
Oh, yes.
Okay. About how many times a month would you say you have an alcoholic beverage?
A month. I have it about twice a week.
Okay. Do you count your macros super close? Like, do you weigh your food and track your macros daily?
Not as much anymore because right now I'm at maintenance. And that's kind of the thing that we were talking about with intuitive eating. I mean, your body wants to stay in homeostasis. So if my goal is to lose weight, the intuition that my body is going to give me is going to be to keep on eating to stay where I am. So there needs to be some tracking. So if I have specific goals for a photo shoot and things like that that I need to dial in, then I'll go back to tracking. But now it's really just seeing how my body responds.
Okay. Do you try to practice a step goal every day?
Yes. Do I do well with it? I have a dog that looks at me, so he's like my step goal reminder.
Absolutely. And what supplements are you taking right now that you think are super important for women?
Magnesium.
Okay.
It kind of helps me sleep. I'm not a big advocate of a bunch of supplements, to be quite honest. For me, they give me nausea. Um, Even if I take them spaced out with a full stomach, empty stomach, like it doesn't matter. So I try to keep things very basic. Protein powder, magnesium, and that's about the extent of it.
Nice.
So no creatine.
No, should I? Yes. I just don't like, I should, I really should. Do I do it? No, I don't.
Right, right.
How many grams of protein do you eat every day?
About 120,
All right.
120, give and take, between 100 and 120.
What are your favorite protein sources?
I like fish, um, but normally the fattier fish like salmon. So, I love pork chops,
Okay.
like pork tenderloin,
Okay.
like tenderloin. Pork chops can get a bit fatty, but pork tenderloin, I love. Chicken, but depends how it's cooked. I have a little bit of PTSD from my competition days.
Oh, I bet.
So like whenever like and my husband just about cooks it enough. And then the thought of eating like slightly undercooked chicken makes me want to barf.
Yes.
So I literally cook them like that. I could wrap them under my feet and wear them as shoes. Yeah. So I haven't found the happy medium of the chicken cooking yet, but this would be my favorite.
What's your favorite? I don't want to call it cheat meal or thing to cheat on as far as food goes.
I don't like I love that you put the quotes. I don't really have like a cheat anything. I eat because I find that that's kind of what pushed me over the edge for the
Totally.
disordered eating behaviors. I have an ice cream cone every day,
Really?
every day. Blue Bunny ice cream, amazing. The bunny
You
tracks.
Blue Bonnet, like
No, Blue Bunny ice cream.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It
Okay.
comes in a box. It has 6 of them, and you better believe that if we're out of it because either myself or my husband forgot, I'll get in my car at 9 p.m. I'll drive to the grocery store. I'll buy a box and I'll eat one on my way home.
No, you will not. Are you
Oh, I will.
serious?
100% of
I
my
love it.
pajamas, in
I
my
love it.
sweatpants. Oh,
That's
no
amazing.
shame in my game.
That is
So,
amazing.
so ice cream would be kind of like my.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, ice cream is my jam.
I don't eat it every day. I eat it once a week. That's my thing.
Yeah, but it's like I kind of take it into account. It's about 280 to 300 calories, something like that.
Right.
So
And
it has protein in it. It's kind of like the people that eat nuts and it's like, oh, it's protein source. And I'm like, it's not.
Yep. Nope.
Nope.
Oh.
At least that's the story I tell myself. It has protein in it.
Well, you're eating it every day and you look amazing. So it
Thank you.
obviously you have a nice balance, and it sounds like you have successfully gotten past that disordered eating and disordered thought process behind the disordered eating. And that's
Yeah.
huge because I think a lot of women can relate with that.
Yeah.
I would guess it's probably as high as probably 85% of people that are listening to this can probably relate with that at some point in their life, if not still currently. So that's huge to know that you've gotten past it and you now really have a healthy relationship with your body, with your mind, and with food.
Yeah, and I think that with women there is the impact. I don't know about the disordered eating behavior, but I saw some data, I think by Molly Galbraith recently, that I think it was like 78 to 82% of women will turn down social events because they don't like how they look. And
That's heartbreaking.
it is very sad. But I find that whenever I'm having conversations with people, with women, to get to that, to get them to admit that, you have to peel so many layers, because
Mm.
it's almost like they put in the back burner. Like, I've spoken with women that won't go to their kids' soccer game because they don't want to wear shorts and it's hot. So if we're
Wow.
not like women that haven't had sex with their husbands like for a year and a half because they don't want to be naked. So if we're not talking about these like we're not having these honest conversations, I think that it's going to become harder and harder
Yep.
to meet women where they're at and help them. And it's like, oh, you should just be grateful for how you look and you're just so blessed. I think that this is like toxic body positivity.
100%.
And it's like,
100%.
it's just gaslighting, because now they're trying to convince themselves that they should feel great when in reality they don't. But then they don't feel like they can do something because they're going to be perceived as ungrateful. No, I want to look hot as shit. And I don't care what anybody says.
And judge
I'll
me
be,
if you want, but that's how I feel.
judge me all you want, all day, every day.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I love you even more than I did before this conversation. I told Melissa, I'm like, you're my kind of person. The three of us could have fun travels together. I'm just going to put that out
Oh,
there.
where are we going?
I
Where are we
mean, yeah.
going? Where are we going? Like, do
I
they
mean,
have mimosas? Do they have
we,
mimosas? If they have
we,
mimosas, I'm in.
we have a free place to stay in Cabo and Tulum. So just saying.
Well, not inviting ourselves
Yeah.
at all, but I mean,
So Natalia, can you tell our audience the best places to find you and follow you online?
yeah, on the gram. I'm on the gram on social media, Natalia Melofit, and my name is funny. It has an H. It's like between the T and the A, Natalia. And I think you guys are going to have it in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
My website's the same, nataliamelofit.com. Didn't really think that one through, actually, because it is so long to spell.
It
I'm
is.
like, yeah, I didn't think that one through, but here we are.
Here we
I'm
are.
I'm too far into it to like change everything. So we're stick
True.
with it for now. Uh yeah, and I'm the one who is on my DMs. If you have any questions, if you heard anything and you find that resonated with you, I love to like chat to people. I'll legit, people are like, it's not you, and I'm like, it sure is, and I'll send a
Yep.
voice note. I'll send a voice
Absolutely.
note.
Yep. Melissa and I are both the same way. We
Yeah,
don't have people that answer our DMs. It's us. So
yeah, like I don't like the whole idea of like, I'm just too good to be talking to people. No, I want to talk to everybody.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I want to talk to
Exactly.
everybody, because I think we're in a very privileged position to know the things that we do, and I think it is our duty to share what we know and help people with it.
So true. So true.
Yeah, cool.
Like-minded ladies right here. We're gonna change the world and make it better for sure.
I love it.
I love it. I love it. Well, Natalia, thank you so much for today. And the Made Fit Show is all about bringing you the best guests with content that really can change your life. And I believe that Natalia conquered that today. So, Melissa, you want to wrap this up?
Yes, thank you so much for your candor and the
Thank
tough
you.
love. I was a little nervous because, I'm the one who gets secondhand embarrassed for people when they're being called out. And I was like, here, I've got Lauren and I've got you on either side of me. This is great.
She was like holding on for dear life, waiting for it to end to see
Totally.
if she was going to have secondhand embarrassment. And whenever Lauren's like, we're done, and she's like,
Okay, good.
She's gonna have a shot of tequila.
I won't lie, I had my finger on the leave button the whole time. I was just like, okay, just gonna have to leave, but no, it wasn't so bad whatsoever. Natalia, I always end the podcast, if you've ever heard it. You want to come up and say hi?
Oh, my dog is here too. Come here.
You get your doggy?
Here he is. Oh, so cute. I love it.
Beautiful. We always end it with wake up feeling prepared and go to bed feeling proud. And I think that you've really enabled women to be that way, to wake up feeling that they are prepared because it's easy, and going to bed feeling proud because they were able to accomplish something. So thank you.
I love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity. It's being like, I love meeting women who are like-minded. And whenever, I've been listening to the podcast, and I kept on listening to you guys talking. I'm like, they are my people. I want to be there too.
Yes.
So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
We appreciate you so much.